Hello, and welcome to another week of Central Reads, our Bible reading plan. As we're almost wrapping up. This is the last week of November, and this is a busy week of reading. Thankfully, we have a few days off at the end of this week, so you can maybe spend time getting through it all. We're reading the entire Thessalonian correspondence, so 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, and then also 2nd Timothy, along with a Psalm. So it's a lot of reading from Paul's letters. It's a few more chapters than we normally do in a week, but they're not very long chapters. And we're covering some great ground here. 1st and 2nd Thessalonians are two very interesting letters. 1st Thessalonians was probably the earliest of Paul's letters. And it's written to a church that is going through a hard time. They're starting to see some of the members die. And so it speaks to the way we grieve. But it also is to a church that Paul loves, and Paul is proud of them. And Paul, he really deeply cares for them. It's really quite a beautiful letter. There's a line in it from chapter 4 of 1 Thessalonians. It's the first verse, and I think it's just so helpful, especially coming off of the worship sermon that I did yesterday. Paul writes, "Finally, brothers and sisters, we ask and urge you in the Lord Jesus that as you learn from us how you ought to live and to please God, you should do so more and more." And what Paul is urging them to there is everything you can do in your life to please God, which I think is another way of saying, like, live a life of gratitude, live a life of worship, live in a way that pleases God. And it's a challenge to do it, as Paul says, you should do it more and more. And I think this, in a lot of ways, is the journey of discipleship, of Christian living, of following Jesus. It's how do we live our lives more and more in a way that pleases God. And so you'll read about that this week in 1 Thessalonians and 2 Thessalonians. 2 Thessalonians, just give you a warning, it's a bit of an odd letter, and it's a tough one. There's a lot of strong language in it and things like that. 2 Timothy, which we'll read towards the end of the week, is also a little bit difficult to understand. And so what I want to do is I strongly encourage you to watch the Bible Project videos on 1 Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians, and 2 Timothy. They're very, very helpful to understanding it. And then on Thursday, we're reading Psalm 130, which I think is one of the most beautiful Psalms. And if I can remember, I'm going to post a link to a song that is based on Psalm 130. I believe Martin Luther wrote it, I think, and it's just wonderful. Anyway, great week of reading, big week of reading, good last week of November, because December we're kicking off the final gospel. We haven't read the Gospel of John yet, and that's going to take us all the way through Christmas. And it is, the Gospel of John is just amazing. Anyway, have a great week of reading, and I hope you have a great Thanksgiving week. And I hope each of us can learn to live lives that please God more and more.